Hi, it's Katrina. My friend David is actually going to be helping me out today, so we can give you a little bit more variety. Everyone say hi!
Number 10. Human remains. One thing you don't expect to find inside the belly of an alligator? Human remains. However, that's just what happened in Louisiana after a massive gator was captured and killed. The giant reptile was caught with help from officials with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It was wandering through the neighborhood of Avery Estates, close to where Timothy Satterlee Sr., a 71-year-old man, went missing on August 30th. The creature was measured at 12 feet, 3.6 meters long, and weighed in at 504 pounds, 228 kilograms. When officials cut the beast open to see what was in its stomach, they discovered a body inside. Police are fairly certain the remains belonged to Timothy. The senior was reported missing after his wife called the police to say that he had been attacked by an alligator outside of their home. Hurricane Ida had just ravaged Louisiana, and the floodwaters had come extremely close to Timothy and his wife's house. Her husband had gone outside, and that was when the alligator literally grabbed him from their front steps and dragged him off into the murky water. His wife tried desperately to grab hold of her husband, but she just didn't have the strength. She phoned for help, but her husband was gone, and there was nothing she could do. Believe it or not, fatal alligator attacks on humans are actually rare in Louisiana. Between 1999 and 2019, only 10 people were killed in the entire southeastern U.S. by alligators. It was the floodwaters that brought the alligator so close to Timothy's home that led to his attack. Gators generally keep to themselves unless protecting their young, nests, or challenged directly. When prepping for a hurricane, people generally fear falling tree limbs, storm surge, or breaking window glass. Alligator attacks in your front yard are hardly the normal threat. For Timothy Satterlee Sr., however, it led to his demise. Number 9. A stalking alligator. Vicki Reamy Baker was on what was supposed to be a peaceful paddleboarding trip in Florida when she found herself being stalked by an alligator. Amazingly, the entire confrontation was caught on video, a video which Vicki uploaded to Facebook for everyone to see. In the footage, she can be heard screaming at the alligator to get away from her, but the beast wasn't taking any notice. She then screamed in horror as the alligator hissed and moved in to take a bite. Thinking quickly, she bashed it with her paddle. She then became stranded on her flimsy paddleboard, a packed lunch sitting behind her and some supplies packed away in bags between her feet, as the alligator bumped its nose against the board and thought about how it was going to trick her into the water. At this point, the alligator was pretty angry. Somebody off camera can even be heard warning Vicki to start backing up because she had made it extremely upset. And this thing was huge, roughly 4 feet long, and with an incredibly powerful bite, if given the opportunity. She managed to get away this time, as the alligator finally gave up and swam away. But this is just one of those things that happens in the Sunshine State. It's been reported that there is one alligator here for every 15 residents. Aggressive gator attacks, however, run on the rare side, with the chance of actually getting bitten by an alligator somewhere around 1 in 3.2 million. Have you ever been up close and personal with an alligator? Let me know in the comments below. Number 8. Inside its mouth. A man in Florida was searching for prehistoric shark teeth at his local river when he came face to face with a very real prehistoric monster. The man's name? Jeffrey Heim, and he was hoping to find some megalodon's teeth hiding in the grime at the bottom of the Myakka River. What he found instead was a very large and very angry alligator. Jeffrey had only been in the water for a few minutes when he felt something hit him with such force that he thought he'd been run over by a boat. It hit him so hard that Jeffrey said he thought it was a propeller. A fraction of a second later, he realized he was actually inside the mouth of an alligator. The reptile was over 9 feet long, potentially female, and protecting her eggs. What's really incredible is that the alligator, even though it had surprised Heim and managed to get him partly inside of her mouth, didn't try to finish him off. She was simply warning him to get out of the area and leave her eggs alone. She relaxed her jaws, letting Jeffrey slip out, and then swam away. But don't be fooled. Just because the alligator didn't try to kill Jeffrey didn't mean she left him without any injuries. He needed 34 stitches put in his head and had a minor skull fracture. He also had bite marks on one of his hands. Doctors said Jeffrey was lucky that he didn't suffer any brain damage. For days after the attack, the swelling in his head was so severe that he couldn't open his left eye. Luckily for him, he's still expected to make a full recovery. Can you imagine being in the jaws of this nearly prehistoric beast and slipping away safely? Incredible. Number 7. Birthday party gone wrong. A birthday party went horribly wrong in Utah when an animal trainer was viciously attacked by the very alligator she was trying to feed. The feeding was part of a young girl's birthday party, in which the trainer was supposed to give the alligator a bit of meat to impress the kids. But instead of taking the piece of meat, the alligator bit down on the woman's hand and would not let go. It had her entire hand in its mouth, risking extreme damage or loss of her limb. The only reason she managed to get away is that one of the adult guests jumped into action and pried the terrifying reptile's jaws apart. The victim was 31-year-old Lindsay Bull. The alligator, named Darth Gator, is over 8.5 feet. He's the star attraction at Scales and Tails, Utah, and Lindsay has fed him hundreds of times before. But this time, he was in a bit of a mood. Instead of just taking the food like he was supposed to, he tried to climb out of his enclosure, and that was when Lindsay got her hand stuck in its mouth. Still, Lindsay thought she could get out of it. At least, she did until she felt it bite down harder. The alligator then started to thrash, and that was when she knew she was in deep trouble. In the end, she suffered tendon damage and chipped bones in both her wrist and hand. She had to have an operation. She was put on an aggressive antibiotic treatment, and she'll need to have physical therapy. Nonetheless, she should regain full control of her hand. She's also told news outlets that she can't wait to be back at work so she can hang out with her alligator friend. Even though Darth Gator tried to eat her, she holds no bad feelings towards the animal. What would you do if an animal encounter at your party turned into an attack? Tell me below in the comments. Number 6. A dangerous fall. In St. Petersburg, Florida, a woman accidentally fell into a canal and was attacked by an alligator. The victim in this case has not been identified, though they were reportedly homeless. The woman was resting on a seawall, not doing anything and not interested in going anywhere. As she was relaxing, she tipped over and plummeted into the canal waters below. Luckily, somebody walking by heard her cries of terror and dialed 911. But between the police arriving and the woman falling into the water, an alligator saw an opportunity for an easy meal. The victim, in her 50s, sustained major injuries to her arms and upper torso as the alligator started taking sample bites. It just kept nibbling on her, not thrashing violently enough to kill, but still doing serious damage. When the authorities finally arrived, they used ladders and safety lines, as well as a rescue basket, to pull the victim from the canal. They had to be careful because the alligator was still lurking around, almost as if it was curious to see what would happen next. It was measured at about 10 feet and 11 inches long, absolutely giant even for a Florida alligator. The alligator was later tracked down and euthanized, with the woman recovering from the savage attack in the hospital. Number 5. Hero Dad. In Texas, a father sprang into action when he noticed a giant alligator was about to attack his 4-year-old daughter. His name is Andrew Grande, a resident of League City. His young daughter was at the edge of a canal behind their home with a fishing rod, trying to snag some fish and looking for crab. She was with her babysitter and her brother, but it would be her father who first saw the alligator getting dangerously close to the edge of the canal. According to what he later told reporters, he didn't know what its intentions were, but he wasn't about to find out. He sprinted to the canal as quickly as he could, scooped up his daughter in one fast motion, and threw her over the fence. The only thing in his head was getting her out of the way of the alligator. And that was when he saw how big the beast was. Andrew is used to alligators hanging around the property, but he says they normally just swim by in the canal and don't bother anyone. This particular reptile looked to be over 12 feet long and upwards of 600 pounds, pretty massive for a gator cruising through the canals. After the close call, Andrew called a local alligator hunter who wrangled up a few townsfolk and captured the threatening beast. But don't worry, this alligator wasn't euthanized. It was relocated to a nearby adventure park and animal rescue center. Would you ever let your children play outside your home, knowing that there were giant alligators lurking around your backyard? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe before the end of the video. Number 4. Burglary gone bad. In Florida, a burglary suspect was eaten by an alligator after attempting to evade capture by hiding in a body of water from police. In the most Florida thing ever, a 22-year-old man burglarized a series of homes and then tried to avoid the cops by wading into a lake. The young man may have thought he was being clever, just assuming he would be able to swim his way across the lake and escape with the stolen goods. But a giant 11-foot alligator had other plans. The alligator got a hold of him, dragged him under the water, and the young man did not survive the attack. According to the official autopsy, Matthew Riggins died from drowning. A necropsy on the alligator itself revealed parts of Matthew's body still inside its stomach. Nobody knows exactly how the attack went down, but either way, Matthew was on the losing end. What's really crazy is that his body wasn't even discovered for 10 days after it had happened. Parts of Matthew's remains were found floating in the lake, with the extremely aggressive alligator lurking nearby. As a result, investigators were able to determine what had likely happened to the unfortunate suspected burglar. Number 3. Alligators versus sharks. A new study has found that American alligators don't only eat humans, they also eat sharks. Well, sharks and stingrays, but sharks are more shocking. Study leader James Nifong from Kansas State University says the results of the study were particularly surprising because alligators are normally freshwater predators. But James was able to identify 4 separate times in which an American alligator chowed down on a shark, and not even the same kind of shark: a lemon shark, a nurse shark, and a bonnethead shark. James even managed to find historical accounts of sharks eating alligators. What all this means is that sharks and alligators, 2 of the oldest and most highly advanced predators anywhere on the planet, square off more often than people might have imagined. They may even actually be mortal enemies, battling one another every so often throughout the past few million years. It would certainly make for an interesting battle, don't you think? Number 2. Horror at Disney World. Lane Graves, just 2 years old, wanted to build a sandcastle. He was staying at the Grande Floridian Resort and Spa with his family as part of a trip to Disney World in Central Florida. He was scooping wet sand into a small plastic bucket when suddenly an alligator lurched out of the water and grabbed the young child by his head. His father, who was standing just a few feet away with his wife and Lane's 4-year-old sister, saw the whole thing unfold. He acted on instinct, jumping into the water and grabbing the alligator by its snout. He tried desperately to get the alligator's mouth open, but he just wasn't strong enough. Within seconds, the alligator had wriggled away, taking the boy with it under the water. This was one of the most horrible alligator attacks to ever happen in the US. It was literal horror, with at least one witness of the attack losing consciousness because they were so distraught. The poor boy wasn't found for another 16 hours. The medical examiner ruled the cause of death as traumatic neck injury. It looks like the alligator snapped the boy's neck and then drowned him. What's really shocking is that prior to the attack, at least 2 people had complained to Disney workers that they saw an alligator lurking in the water at the resort. Nothing was done. Then, during the search for Lane's body, officers killed 6 alligators. 2 of them were at least 7 feet and found right at the edge of the beach. Number 1. Dead in the water. A woman in Florida was found floating dead in a retention pond after being beaten up by an alligator. According to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, her body was uncovered at just before 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday in the pond behind a local bar and grill in Valrico. Investigators weren't able to say for sure if she had been eaten by an alligator, but injuries found on her body were indeed consistent with alligator bites. Investigators also noted that alligators are known to frequent the pond. The big issue here is that nobody can quite figure out how she ended up the victim of an alligator attack. She had been celebrating the 4th of July with friends and family at the bar and grill when she disappeared. We don't know if the alligator snuck up on her while she was getting some fresh air, if she was drunk and fell into the pond, or if somebody intentionally pushed her in, knowing what would happen. This could be a case of murder by alligator, though right now we just don't know. As far as police seem to be concerned, it was likely a tragic accident. Have you ever come face to face with an alligator? If so, let me know about it in the comments, and thanks for watching today's video. Remember to hit subscribe and check out more awesome stuff from the channel. Until next time, see you later, alligators.